Welcome to the Ancient Robot Games podcast. As always, I'm Dougal.
And I'm Gil.
And we are joined today by Pablo and Andrew from Eerie Idol Games.
Hey, folks.
Hello.
So you have made a very successful game that's not quite out yet, called The Old King's Crown, which I know that some of our listeners will be fans of already and possibly have pre-ordered it or kickstarted it or any of the other exciting things that go with it. Could you tell us a little bit about what brought you both into making games for a living?
Whoa.
I know, big questions. We start big.
So we were both doing separate jobs in sort of industries that have some adjacency to games, or board games, I should say. Andrew works in animation and tutors very successfully in that, and then I worked in animation for video games. And over time, we were working on this game in the background, and we felt like it had enough interest that slowly it started to percolate, and we felt like we had some of the tools. In hindsight, not all of the tools, but some of the tools to begin the process. But I think the big thing was that we never lurched into it. No. It was a slow process of, hey, we're going to dedicate some more time to this, and then eventually it became our full-time job.
Yeah.
Great, just as easy as that.
Yeah, so easy, so easy. My grey hair is not
Hair? Sorry.
Exactly.
So the game itself is absolutely beautiful. I think that's what is often seen by people who see it in conventions as well as any other place that they see it online or anything else like that. The art is particularly stunning. Was that something that you kind of heavily focused on when it came to design of the game?
I mean, I wish I could take credit for the art, but I mean, that's all.
You can try. Go.
You can try.
Yeah. Why not?
The UI looks very good as well.
Oh, thanks.
And no, look, it was the game first, always the game, and I like to stress that because I do think that's important. I think that's the right way to design something. I think if you are looking at games, especially board games that have these hard limitations on them, I think sometimes with video games, working in AAA video games, you can pitch a lot of really fantastical ideas. But I think with board games, it's much more grounded in practicalities. So yeah, the game and its core design came first, and it was just some bits of cardboard, and it had no identity beyond like very, very rough theming, and even that changed quite a lot. And then the artwork started to be added. And I think the great privilege of working on a project like this is that as somebody who spent, a decade and a half working on big animations and big AAA video games, all of that is going to a project that, you have maybe some belief in, but maybe not whole belief in. And a lot of that work remains hidden or is not used and all these things. So to be able to work on something that is yours holistically, that is to say that the design and the artwork are conjoined and grow together is a real rare privilege and something that I think we want to defend.
I don't think either of us take that for granted.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I'm curious about the relationship that you have with your players, with your fans, and also because you've been working on it for a while, and as you say, you didn't lurch into it, that I imagine that getting feedback and interacting with and tweaking the game, tweaking the mechanics it's all part and parcel to it, but the time frame is elongated if you are not jumping straight
into manufacturing.
So how have you navigated that? Because I have no idea, but my perception is that folks have known about Old King's Crown for a while. They got very excited about it very early, so therefore they've been involved for a while. So how have you seen interacting with fan suggestions or adapting it or tweaking it, and at what point do you
do you have to say
were you like, yep,
we have
good,
to stop.
yeah, we're good?
Why don't you make your own game?
Yeah.
I mean, we're so privileged. We have the most incredible Discord community that we have been cultivating since the game we announced it, and it's been growing ever since. And they're incredible. They're some of the best playtesters you'll ever find. They know the game better than I do. They are certainly better players than I am. But their feedback on the game has been, absolutely integral to the design. I think without that idea of like having someone to push back and have someone to really like scrutinize your ideas and kind of, in some cases, kind of tear them apart and pull them down, and we can kind of build them back up. I think that's been probably one of the most rewarding parts of the whole process. Obviously, a lot of time goes into doing that. Yeah. It really is a big process.
Has it changed a lot?
I would say the most curious thing about having regular playtesters is the ongoing relationship that you have between creatives and people who are then playing it and feeding back. And I totally agree. They're incredible, but it is a difficult space to navigate.
Yeah.
In that there is an identity that you want to hold true to. I would say the greatest thing ultimately that came out of it was the ability to take time to make more complex ideas more fully realized and ultimately more accessible. The game is more complex than its initial foundation, for sure. My God, for sure. But when it went to Kickstarter, it was in a weird place where it was like it was ambitious, but messy, really messy. Not like by design, or like it was the ambition had produced certain messiness. And so that extra 18 months of just scrutiny was so good, because we then had the final lancing drive to be like, well, now we want to refine it and refine it and refine it. So I think the game is sharper and more accessible because of this playtesting, but had to go through the woods of different voices and different resistances. And as well, we were very lucky that it wasn't just these playtesters, but we spent a bunch of time, with Leader Games, who gave us a bunch of feedback as we went along. So they would playtest it and feedback, and it was a kind of communication with them. There was a whole separate thing. So juggling these things has been really complicated, but I do genuinely believe that the final game is the truest vision of what, if you could kind of extract what dreamlike you might try and shoot for, that's this. Now whether people jibe with that's a completely different thing. But in terms of just
what we want to make,
yeah,
it is what we want to make.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So when it comes to all of that playtesting and things like that, was there anything that you had to take out that you were like, damn it, I really, really wanted that, and it just doesn't work because of all this feedback? And on the opposite side, were you given any things and then you went, no, that feedback is not useful for this, but now I want to make another game that is based upon that side of things as well.
Kernel of
there's something there.
Sure. Yeah.
Is there any specifics that you remember?
So definitely in terms of things being lost, I think that is one of the great lessons that you should learn, which is just at some point it has to go.
Yeah.
It has to go. Yeah. It has to go. I've got a bunch of mechanics in the game that are just gone. And I did fight really hard for them. And ultimately the battlefield, the dust clouds cleared, and I was the only person defending this idea, right? But I'd make a big song and dance about it because I believed in it. But ultimately, it is useful to find resistance, and it is. And look, as somebody whose job is to defend the artistic vision of something, because you often have to be like, no, I do think this is best. Hey, working on animation or a game, you have to be like, no, I really do think this is the right thing. I'm used to defending those things, but it is useful sometimes with enough feedback to be like, no, hang on, stop.
Is there anything that you miss that you were like, it just didn't quite go there, but that's the one?
I mean, some of that stuff might make an appearance again.
No, it's a spoilers for expansion, so we just don't talk about it. Fair enough. Yeah, no worries.
But it is a fine line. It's also I imagine that these playtesters that have come along the journey with you, whether they're professionals or otherwise, they get probably quite attached to different versions. I mean, I've experienced this both as a playtester and someone playtesting my games. I've done, obviously, I've done it for nearly as long as you all, but I have a friend who's on, I don't know, version 50,
Right.
55 of something.
Right.
And I'm like, I really enjoyed the first one.
Yeah.
And why have you gotten rid of this thing that was the reason why it was just not as, not as obviously it's gotten a lot better and tighter in other ways. But I imagine that if you times that by 100, I imagine that's what you're having to deal with. So how do you sense check yourself as to whether or not you're like, no, I am going to stand up. I don't care if I'm the only one on the battlefield, F off, whatever it is. Like, I if you don't like it, you don't like it. But versus relenting and seeing reason versus fighting for something that you think might make it more unique or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I mean, I would say that you and I as designers, we're not scared of tearing things apart.
Yeah.
Whether that be based on feedback or whether it be our own beliefs that something is not working or something, right? Like, we've gone pretty far into development of factions, of ideas, like kingdom cards in their game are a really big part, and we've kind of torn them apart.
Entire
systems have been stripped from the game, built from the ground up, and I do think the whole process has been better from that. But it is tricky when you say, like, we believe in it as designers, but obviously it has to go through that feedback process with our playtesters. I mean, ultimately we are making a product, and people have to want to buy it and enjoy it. But I do think there's a fine line there, and I don't know if there's an exact right answer to say, like.
I think feel is hugely important. Yeah. I think we often sense check each other.
Definitely.
And we often ask, like, if you're driving towards a cliff, is this good or not? Quickly answer, quickly now.
Yeah.
And I think that is really useful. And I think having another voice to back across is really useful. And it can be really hard. It can be really hard to hear that something that you've invested time and energy in is not, like you were saying with playtesters, they can sometimes, feel like, oh, I lost the version that I had the most affection for. Yeah. But that is creation. Yeah, it's like messy and complicated, and like people's traits and preferences interject sometimes where common sense might even take over. Yeah, that's what makes interesting, unique things. And I'd definitely say that we're not afraid to pull it apart.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think it's a thing that's talked a lot about in game design, of mechanics and weight of a game and art, and all of these things are taken separately. But I think that there's something that isn't talked about as much, which is atmosphere. And I think all of these things can tie into that, as you say, the kind of feel of a game and what it is wanting to be has to be driven to service that feel, that atmosphere, that kind of goal of the game more than anything else. So yeah, I think that's often not talked about as much as it should be when it comes to games design, of like, what do you want your entire experience to what is it molded around, what either emotional attachment or physical feel that it should be. Because you could make another trick-taking game that just happens to have cats in it, and that's great. But is that based around mechanically what the game should be, or is it another card game with cats on it?
Sure. I mean, we always treat the whole process as this very holistic thing, that we have to see the entire big picture of this, is that we're making a physical product. And that's one of the nice things about board games that things like video games don't have, is you have that tactile nature
and very finite and so
right. Exactly. Is that there are limitations, and those limitations, I think, like breed creativity. That you can't add every single card that you could possibly think of. There's manufacturing limitations built around that. But I think that leads to some really interesting decisions and really tough decisions about, like, what's included in a game. And that led us to a very long process where we really refined that and really thought, is this what we want in the final thing? And I think we have landed on something that we're incredibly proud of, because...
Oh, for sure. It looks amazing. It plays really, really well. It's the manufacturing side of stuff is really interesting from a game design perspective, simply because a lot of people have a game, they made it, they play tested a whole bunch of stuff, but that next step of, right, how do I get this into people's hands? How do I get this in a way that has got the components that I want it to have, and all the other bits and pieces that go with it, without compromising? But obviously, within manufacturing, the global industry that we're in, there will be some compromises when it comes to it. How did you both kind of traverse that minefield of who do you go with manufacturers? How do you get test products? How all the bits and pieces that come with it? I know that's a big question, but yeah.
So I think there's something is really important about this, which is that if you are making a board game or you are making a video game or whatever, engage with the medium, and there are a lot of things that you're going to have to contend with if that's the reality of what you're trying to make. So if you're trying to make a board game and you're trying to manufacture it, and what you're trying to manufacture is impossible, then you're failing in some way, unless you can find a way to solve that impossible thing, which could be very interesting. It could lead to all these kind of things. But I think that there's a very real danger in getting carried away with an idea and not scrutinizing the idea to the point where it becomes a reality. And I think I always say this. I think that time is very useful for creative endeavors because it allows things to become real, and you have to focus them, and the idea has to survive for a long period of time, and it has to weather different, adversities. So when it comes to manufacturing, I think you should try and aim for, what is this thing? What does it look like? How would it fit on a shelf? Who would buy this thing? And these things can be quite horrible, because you're taking something that you perhaps love and that you've invested all this creative energy in.
That is special every single time.
Yeah.
There's card size expectations.
Yeah.
I don't want it to be that.
Does it constantly feel like you're compromising on that?
Yeah. That can be really difficult, because you've taken what was initially an idea that could be anything, and then an idea that was blossoming, and then something that has to become a practical reality.
You're literally putting it in a box.
Yeah. You're putting it in a box, and how big is that box?
Are you saying I don't get a full-size crown inside my copy of All King's Crown?
Well, actually, you do.
It's the super deluxe, amazing version made of real gold.
If you email Pablo's Yacht funds.com. I think those practical realities are really important, and if you're serious about engaging with the medium, then it has to be, or it won't be real, and that's fine. That's okay. Make a game with your friends, but I mean, if you are putting money and resources, and you are, I think it gets complicated when you're staking stuff on it. Like, would you want to make this a career? Would you want to be financially beholden to the outcome of this thing? All these things means that you owe it to yourself and whoever has codependencies with you to engage with it, like, formally and thoroughly.
And how soon in the process of development would you, after having been through the whole kind of rigmarole of doing it without this knowledge, how soon in the development process do you think that the manufacturing side of stuff should come into it? Is it something that you make the whole game, you do it as much as possible, and then go to manufacturers? Or is it something that you think maybe should be brought in sooner in the process so that you can then peel down the game to work a bit better with the practicalities of components and everything else that goes with it?
It's very interesting. I mean, I spend a lot of the time dealing with that practical side of things of manufacturing. I think we often have these really interesting blue sky ideas, and they're like, oh, that's so interesting. And then the manufacturing comes in, like, oh, we couldn't do that. It would just be so prohibitively expensive to be able to do that. And I do think it's interesting to be able to explore those ideas, because I think there is ways that you can find a balance where you could have the wildest idea that suddenly you pare it back a little bit, and actually, you know what? You can actually make that. It is a physical product you could produce and create.
I would say now, almost by reflexively, when we're working on new ideas, whether they be, in the world of the Old King's Crown or otherwise, we do absolutely very early on speculate about the potential cost and how it would be. How it would live on a table, because it's really important. And sometimes you again, this is a thing, like you're starting to meet with these like grubby realities compared to this, like, you have an idea and you're enamored with it, and then you have to start practically manifesting that thing, and that can be really, it can be off-putting. It can be discouraging, because you're like, oh well, I love this idea, but I'm struggling to understand how to manifest it. But engaging with the practicalities of it will often produce interesting and exciting results. I think it genuinely exciting because it becomes more and more real the more you engage with it. So I would say if anybody's interested in making board games, totally engage with that side of the industry. Like talk to publishers, talk to manufacturers. I will tell you, manufacturers love talking to you. Even if you just got an idea, they will give you their business card all the time, and it's really useful. And then you can ask for a quote, and that's interesting. Yeah. And you'd be like, oh, okay, wow, that's very expensive, or whatever. By engaging with that, you're at least earnestly thinking about the future that this could become a real thing, and that's very useful.
Yeah, I mean, I think like board games have this really interesting thing where that idea of limitation is so interesting. Some of the most interesting problem solving I've ever done in my life is built around board games and the physical limitations of what you can actually create. And I think we've been able to obviously spend a lot of time to be able to do that, but it has taken quite some time to be able to kind of find the right balance with that. But yeah, that limitation is such an interesting design challenge that I don't think I've ever experienced elsewhere, coming from an animation background where it just takes time, right? You can kind of make whatever you want as long as you got the time to do it. But that idea of like a physical challenge is so interesting.
Finite
it's really interesting. Finite, right? It's like you can't have thousands of components in your board game. Right?
It's so funny because we were talking with Judson Cowan from Tactics Games, who you share an office with, about games and where it comes from. And he has that limitation of he's only going to make a game if he can figure out what the Kickstarter video is going to look like. And that is like, this is when I know I'm going to make a game, because I can see that Kickstarter video, which is a different sort of limitation, but it's an interesting one to go into it as well. Talk about other games. Are there games that interest you within that kind of components side of things of, they have everything that they need in that box and it's been maximized to the most game possible that game could be. Wow, that was really well described, but I wonder if you know what I mean. So are there games that you love that you're like, wow, they've done a hell of a job because that game fits in that box and it's perfect and everything has been designed in a certain way?
I have a few answers to this, but Arcs.
Arcs?
Leader Games Arcs. That is quite a small box for a big amount of game in that. And it fits so well. They have not overproduced that. It's everything it needs to be. It's wooden components. It's really, really just nice artwork built throughout the entire process of obviously designing that game. And
a little strange to see an expansion that is 3 to 4 times the size of the base game.
That's maybe where a lot
of room the size of that expansion.
Right. Yeah, a lot of the art budget probably went there, right? But the base game as a like a standalone product is just an incredible proposition. I really
I was going to say Root. Like Root, Dougal, you mentioned something earlier about like the atmosphere of a game, and it's almost like an ethereal like quality to it. And I think that Root's got that. Like it is like a technical war game based loosely on the coin system or inhabiting some of the same spaces as the coin system, but brought to life in such a way that even if every game of Root that I play is not like one that I love, it is at the very least interesting, and it has a vibe to it which is just so. Even now, years later, this Root's getting on a little bit. It's still kind of a pleasure to open that box, and it just is so. It just clicks so brilliantly, and it conjures up a playful woodland, and then it has this technical war game that kind of gets out of your way in the sense that the components that you're using are chunky wood rather than. Microscopic chits. I've been doing a bunch of hex war game examinations recently, and a small breeze will ruin an evening. I'll tell you.
An absolute battered copy of A Merchant of Venus in this.
Yeah, nice. I know that you personally, Pablo, got into playing the digital version of Root as well. You still go back to the board game?
Yeah. There is something so complete about. I'll use a very recent example. Is I picked up Aeon's End.
Yes.
I'm just being very like we're doing a lot of work at the moment on combos and synergies for a project, and that game's very well regarded for that. And I've played that digital game a whole bunch of times, and there's something almost unfathomable about loading a digital deck with cards that you know that you're going to flip over, or at least this is for me, and there's like a spatial problem there where you can't see everything and you can't take in the whole atmosphere and the whole lot of information. And when it's on the table, I think Aeon's End, although the digital version is good, it's so much more complete as a thing. I just think it's really good. Really, really, really difficult. But it's, I think Root is the same thing. I think it has ultimately more value as a physical thing. And while I think the digital version of Root is very good, although I definitely have issues with the art choices that they made. I think Direwolf are a really good company, but I personally would have, if I was art directing that, if I could kick down the door, I would have made certain decisions about that art direction.
You asked if swearing was allowed at the start of this. I feel this is building up here.
Can make it 2D. You've got this incredible 2D art. Make it fucking 2D. I think it's very good. But I think the physical version has something so immediately successful about the way that it feels on the table. And one other thing which is so brilliant about board games is the idea that you could find it relic-like in a shop or in someone's attic, and it would function in a
the same way as when it was.
And I think there's something so beautiful about that. As increasingly we move towards a kind of cloud-based, you don't own this product kind of thing, which is, hey, well, that's where the market's going, and whatever. I don't like it, but more power to them.
But there's also like a strong reaction to that, which is one of the reasons why board games are coming back. This like tactile, not just tactile, but like as you say, it's like a relic thing. Especially independent board games. It's not like they're going to be available all the time, and people see that as a special thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. You just said Root felt like it was getting on a bit, but actually, I mean, it feels just fresh to play now as it did when it first came out, which is
And if you're anything like myself, it's like one day I'll retire. And then I can play all of these games. At the moment, I'll play 1 or 2 right now, and 5 will sit in their boxes waiting to be played. But I'll retire. I'll have all the time in the world. So they will stay there forever. I am a hoarder when it comes to board games, for sure. I don't know if you guys are anything similar. What's on the list of games that you're really wanting to play that you have already?
That we have already
jumped into yet?
Actually, Dougal, on your recommendation, I got Chaos in the Old World. Talking about old games that are obviously out of print. I still haven't played it yet. It's been sitting in my collection for about a year and a half, and I'm just finding the exact right time where I can sit down and play it. I think half the pieces are missing, I think, but I paid a fortune for it at Tabletop Scotland, so I'm really hoping it plays really well.
So I make money off every copy of Chaos in the Old World that is sold. No, also one of my favorite older games by Fantasy Flight that's attached to the Games Workshop license, that is purely, in my mind, a 4-player only game.
I don't have a friend.
That's I'm so sorry, and we're all leaving really quick after this, so you don't drag us into it. No, it's a very good game, but impossible to find, so out of print at the moment. So keep holding that copy. Pretend that you have all the pieces, and then sell it in 20 years' time for a real gold crown.
How about you two? Any games that you're...
Oh, I have way too many games. I am still yet to... I played it back when it was at conventions and things, but I'm still yet to play my personal copy of the Legendary Edition of Cyclades, or I can never know how to say it, but I really enjoyed what Bruno Cathala did to change up that game. Really good. As I say, I played it at conventions, but my copy is sitting there waiting to be opened and peeled apart. I also am waiting to play the Legendary Edition of Ra. The Pharaoh Edition for that, which is one of Reiner Knizia's best games that I played way back when it had much worse art and everything else. And apparently they balanced a couple of things that is... Oh, I'm so excited for that. That is definitely, I think, one of his best games and the most interesting auction-based game that I have seen.
He loves an auction.
He loves an auction, right? Okay, so he loves an auction. He loves any sort of card-based thing as well. This is nice to have just pure tiles and tokens to bid with. I don't know if you guys have played it yet.
No, not yet. No.
Well worth jumping into if you get a chance. Gelb?
Penguin Party was actually a bit interesting. Reiner Knizia. I don't know if you've played that. It's a very simple game. There are only 5 types of cards. There's
Cheap to manufacture.
It was like, honestly, as if
Where your brain goes, every single
each card is also exactly the same. So
Whoa.
so there are colors. I think a yellow card, a red card, and they're 5 different penguins, and you have to make.
Are they the same
3.
drawing of penguin?
No. So each.
I'm gonna have an aneurysm through all this.
They're
Push the boat out
basically,
for
if you're thinking about it from an art direction perspective, they had to commission 5 penguins. They had to really.
And those penguins had to
Knuckle
model.
Yeah, they had one penguin modeling 5 different poses and 5 colors, and that's it. And then whatever 5 copies of each card, or there's a slightly different way, and you're making this pyramid of penguins, and it is so basic but really, really silly and really fun. So I don't know if you fancy that.
Oh yeah,
Penguin Party, there you go.
Definitely down for it. Another one is Lux, which I don't know if you've heard of. It's a 3 to 5 person.
Is it like a science fiction-y?
No, it's a trick taking game. It's purely numbers and colors, and that's all you have. So you get to see your hand of cards, but all you get to see are the suits of the cards. So you only get to see the colors of the cards in your hand. Everyone else gets to see the other side, which is all the numbers and the colors. And then you have a almost Skull King-like thing of you bid how many tricks you are going to win out of the round. So you get to see there's only one of each number. You get to see everyone else's colors and everyone else's numbers. But you only know the colors
of your own thing rather than
exactly. You only know your own colors. The only thing you know is your own suits and how that matches against other people's ones.
And so if people are bidding robustly, it's like they're probably holding high numbers or something like that.
Don't know.
You don't know.
You know their number.
So they could convince you to. Oh, that's interesting. I'm going to put in a recommendation here. I just tinkled around with its 2-player like minimum games, but so I haven't played it properly yet. I'm going to bring it into studio tomorrow. But Bin Fa?
No idea.
Bin Fa.
Bizfire first.
It's BIN apostrophe FA, and it was recommended. Like I played it. Like, I didn't play it, but Cole Worley and Drew Worley recommended it at UK Games Expo, and I picked up a copy, and oh boy, it sounds great. It sounds really, really good. It's this older gentleman who's been working on it from like the 1970s, and there's been all these different editions of it, and it's a kind of abstract strategy game with a crazy dice mechanic, which is so outrageously luck-based that I kind of love it, because everything else is quite cold and calculating, and you've got this shockingly random dice thing.
How many different costumes are the penguins wearing in Bin Fa, though? Here's the big question.
Bin Fa, they only had to hire one triangle, and that triangle just had to be in like 5 different colors.
Oh, jeez. I mean, I know how much it is to hire a triangle for the day, so they really pushed the boat out for that one. Amazing. Well, thank you both for joining us today for the podcast. All King's Crown is coming out, or may already be out, depending on when you're listening to this,
should be.
It's delivering to backers late June through to mid-August.
Depending on where you live in the world.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then it should be going to retail in September.
Yep.
And then the future might hold other surprises.
Wow, that's so cryptic. All King's Crown adjacent or something completely new?
A bit of...
Okay, got you. Awesome.
A little bit of both.
You kind of have a home for all those mechanics that you...
very true.
Yeah. That's right. Well, you mean the bin? The bin gets emptied out, gets recycled, and we got a new game.
It's a triangle-shaped bin.
Very expensive bin. That one.
Exactly. Yeah.
No, an absolute pleasure, and thank you very much for joining us. As always, I have been Dougal.
Did you be Gelb?
And this has been edited by Ryan Scott. Thank you all for listening.